I'm Ren, 31M. I'm a landscape architect, and I run my own successful design and build company. I've been in this business since I was 16, starting with mowing lawns and building small garden beds, slowly growing it into a thriving enterprise. By the time I was 31, my company was doing well, pulling in a significant six-figure income annually. I was proud of my work, proud of what I had built through sheer grit and long hours. My family, however, saw my success differently. They saw it as their success. Or, more accurately, their safety net. The story truly begins about a year and a half ago, when I was 29. I was at my parents' house for a Sunday dinner, something I dreaded but felt obligated to attend. The conversation, as usual, revolved around their financial woes and how I needed to do more. My dad, Gian 50M, a middle manager whose financial expertise consisted of endless get-rich-quick schemes, was particularly agitated. "Ren," he began, slamming his fork down, "you're not pulling your weight. You're living high and mighty, while your family struggles. You're becoming a burden, frankly, with your refusal to truly help us out." A burden? My blood ran cold. For years, I had been the reliable cash cow. I had quietly, consistently, funded their lifestyle while being treated with disdain. I had paid for my sister Lena's, 26F, entrepreneurial ventures, which were really just selling cheap jewelry online and maintaining a fake social media facade. I had covered my brother Kai's, 34M, gambling debts more times than I could count. I had bailed my parents out of various financial jams, from overdue mortgage payments to car repairs they couldn't afford. I had loaned my dad money for his latest sure-thing investment that always failed. And now, I was a burden? I was earning more than my entire family combined, and they saw me as a burden because I wasn't giving them enough. That moment, that word, burden, served as a brutal, painful catalyst. It forced me to reflect on my role within the family. I wasn't a son, a brother, a loved one. I was an ATM. A reliable, always available ATM. Let me give you a clearer picture of my family, the people who had come to rely on me without an ounce of gratitude or acknowledgement. Dad, Gian, 50SM, a middle manager who always thought he was smarter than everyone else, especially when it came to money. He was constantly chasing the next big thing, cryptocurrency, obscure real estate, multi-level marketing schemes. Every few months, he'd have a new can't-fail venture, and he'd always need a small loan to get it off the ground. These loans, of course, were never repaid. He was the chief architect of the family's financial instability, and my primary emotional abuser. Mom, May, 50SF, a part-time real estate agent who hadn't sold a house in years. Despite her lack of income, she maintained an expensive lifestyle, obsessed with appearances. New clothes, fancy dinners, luxury vacations, often paid for by me, unknowingly, through my dad's loans. She was the enabler, always supporting my dad's schemes and subtly pushing me to help out your poor father. She played the victim well, but she was just as complicit in the exploitation. Brother, Kai, 34M, my older brother. He peaked in high school as a football star and had been coasting on those glory days ever since. He struggled to find stable employment, bouncing between odd jobs, and had a serious gambling problem. He'd call me, desperate, needing money to pay rent or fix his car, knowing full well it was going to the racetrack or an online casino. My parents would always back him up. "Your brother needs help, Ren. He's going through a tough time." Sister, Lena, 26F, my younger sister. She fancied herself an entrepreneur, running an online shop selling cheap, mass-produced jewelry she bought wholesale and marked up slightly. Her social media presence was a carefully curated facade of luxury and success, masking her deep financial instability. She constantly needed investments for her growing business, or money for influencer events, to network. My parents thought she was brilliant, a future millionaire, and constantly pressured me to support her vision. In contrast to all of them, I had always been the responsible one. I started my landscaping business at 16, working through summers and weekends, saving every penny. I put myself through college, paid for my own car, and bought my own apartment. I was the one who actually made money, and they were the ones who constantly needed it. I was the financial anchor, and they were the dead weight. My best friend, Chen, 31M, a sharp contract lawyer, had been watching this dynamic unfold for years. He was the only one who truly saw it for what it was. After that burden comment from my dad, I went straight to Chen's place, furious and heartbroken. I recounted the conversation, the years of subtle and not-so-subtle demands. Chen listened patiently, then looked at me, his expression grim. Ren, he said, I'm going to be brutally honest with you. Your family doesn't love you. They love your money. They love what you can provide for them. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. It was a truth I had subconsciously known but desperately tried to deny. No, I whispered, their family. They care about me. Do they ever call you just to see how you are, without asking for anything? Chen pressed. Do they celebrate your successes without immediately asking for a cut? Do they offer you support when you're struggling, or do they just expect you to fix their problems? The questions hung in the air, and I had no good answers. The realization hit hard. They only reached out when they needed money. My phone calls from them were almost exclusively about a financial emergency or a can't-miss opportunity that required my immediate investment. My value to them was purely transactional. I was not a son, not a brother. I was a resource. That realization, though painful, fueled a quiet anger. I started saying no more often, subtly at first. The reaction was immediate: guilt trips, accusations of selfishness, emotional blackmail. My parents would orchestrate elaborate family dinners where I was subtly shamed. Kai would call me a snob. Lena would post passive-aggressive memes about fake family on social media. Despite my growing resentment, I still found myself giving in, albeit reluctantly. The financial requests escalated. My dad needed money for a groundbreaking new app. Kai needed bail money, again. Lena needed funds for a major influencer collaboration. I was working longer hours, taking on more stressful projects, just to keep up with their insatiable demands. I was funding their irresponsible lifestyles, their delusions, their addictions, while receiving no gratitude, only entitlement. The final breaking point came during Christmas. I decided to host a lavish Christmas dinner at my apartment. I spent weeks planning it, cooked a huge meal, decorated everything meticulously. I wanted to show them that I was successful, that I did care, hoping, foolishly, for some acknowledgement, some appreciation. They arrived, late, of course. They immediately started complaining about the traffic, the food, too traditional, not trendy enough for Lena, and my choice of music. My dad cornered me, asking for a loan for a new crypto venture. Kai disappeared into the bathroom for suspiciously long periods. Lena spent the entire evening on her phone, live-streaming her perfect Christmas dinner to her followers, completely ignoring me and the effort I had put in. They treated me like hired help, the caterer, the host, not the son who had just spent hundreds of dollars and hours of his time trying to create a festive family gathering. As they left, my mom, May, gave me a perfunctory hug. Thanks for dinner, Ren. It was fine. But next time, maybe stick to something simpler. You clearly stretched yourself too thin. I stood in my empty, messy apartment, surrounded by the remnants of a dinner no one appreciated, and a cold, clear thought settled in my mind: I am done. That night, after a particularly hurtful phone call from my dad, who was still complaining about my lack of generosity, I made the decision. It was drastic. It was terrifying. But it was necessary. I called Chen. I'm doing it, I said. I'm cutting them off. All of them. Completely. Chen, bless him, didn't hesitate. Good. It's about damn time. What's the plan? Over the next few days, I systematically terminated all financial connections to my family. I closed the joint bank account my mom occasionally used for emergencies. I changed all my passwords. I sent them a formal, legal letter, drafted by Chen, stating that all outstanding loans were now considered debts, with repayment terms. I knew they wouldn't pay, but it was a legal formality. Then, I booked a one-way ticket. To New Zealand. I needed distance. Real distance. Not just from their demands, but from the emotional baggage, the guilt, the constant expectation. I needed to breathe. I needed to rediscover who I was without being their ATM. I didn't tell them I was leaving. I didn't say goodbye. I just packed my bags, left my business in the capable hands of my trusted manager, and got on that plane. The moment the plane took off, a profound sense of peace washed over me. It was terrifying, but exhilarating. I was finally free. While I was exploring the stunning landscapes of New Zealand, finding clarity and peace, my family back home began to face the consequences of their reliance on me. Chen, my loyal friend, kept me updated, a mix of grim amusement and vindication in his messages. Unpaid bills. The first thing to hit was the unpaid bills. Their mortgage, utilities, car payments, all the things I had subtly been covering. Repossessions. My dad's new car, which I had helped him with the down payment for, was repossessed. Lena's car, which I had also contributed significantly to, was next. Eviction notice. My parents received an eviction notice for their house, which they had been renting for years, because they couldn't cover the rent without my loans. Kai's debts. Kai's gambling debts spiraled out of control without my regular bailouts. He started getting threatening calls. Lena's business, Lena's online jewelry business, without my investments for inventory and marketing, quickly fizzled out. Her social media facade crumbled as she couldn't afford to keep up appearances. Their attempts to reach out to me were frantic, then desperate, then furious. Calls, texts, voicemails, emails, a barrage of accusations, guilt trips, and pleas for help. They couldn't believe I had abandoned them. They couldn't comprehend that their financial safety net was gone. I ignored every single one. Chen handled any legal inquiries. After 3 months in New Zealand, feeling refreshed and empowered, I returned home. The chaos my family was in was even worse than Chen had described. They were truly on the brink of financial ruin. Chen and I devised the final phase of the plan. We drafted a formal, legally binding agreement. It outlined every single dollar they owed me, the loans to my dad, the bail money for Kai, the investments for Lena, the various bills I had covered. The total was staggering. We presented it to them. "This is what you owe me," I said, my voice calm, devoid of emotion. "You have 1 month to come up with a repayment plan, or we move to the next step." They scoffed, they raged, they cried. They accused me of being heartless, of ruining their lives. They tried to negotiate, to beg. But I was firm. 1 month. Inevitably, they failed to meet the terms. They couldn't come up with a penny. That's when Chen initiated the legal proceedings. Because of the previous loans I had documented, and the fact that they had no other assets, we were able to legally claim ownership of the family lake house, which was technically in my dad's name, but had been bought with money I had largely provided over the years through various investments, my father's boat, which I had paid for the maintenance and storage of for years, and Lena's car, which I had made the down payment on and several monthly payments for. It was a cold, hard legal maneuver. It wasn't about spite, it was about justice. It was about reclaiming what was rightfully mine, what they had taken through deceit and exploitation. The look on their faces when the legal documents were served, when they realized they had lost everything they had taken for granted, was priceless. They had called me a burden. Now, they were truly burdened by their own choices. With the assets I reclaimed, I expanded my business, investing in new equipment and hiring more staff. I bought a beautiful new home, a place of my own, free from the ghosts of past exploitation. I enjoyed a life free from the constant burden of my family's expectations, focusing on my own happiness, my own success, and the genuine relationships I had cultivated, like with Chen. My family? They were forced to face the reality of their choices. My parents lost their house and the boat. Kai had to declare bankruptcy and finally sought help for his gambling addiction, a small silver lining. Lena had to get a real job and learn to live within her means. They were forced to navigate life without my financial support, learning, the hard way, the consequences of their irresponsibility. I maintained strict no contact, beyond legal necessities. It was a painful, brutal process, but it was necessary. I shed the weight of years of resentment and exploitation. I transformed from a passive provider to an empowered individual who demands respect and accountability. And in doing so, I finally found peace.